Good afternoon, all. Welcome to the electoral debrief, a dialogue with civil society's community representative on the recent Ethiopian elections. I'm very glad to have you here all with us, and I think it's a very huge opportunity. We are hosting this conference on behalf of the UNPO, a Represented Nations and Peoples Organization. My name is Lucia Parrucci, and I'm the Program Manager for Horn of Africa. We are hosting that jointly with the MEP member of the European Parliament, Jordi Solé, and the member of the European Parliament, Ignaziocorrao. There are many different communities here talking, actually 9, if you saw the agenda. So I will really immediately stop talking and give the floor for the opening remarks to the hosts and the guest speakers. While we're going to finish with this session, we will be moving forward with the communities, and I will call all of them in alphabetical order. Again, as I was explaining, please mute yourself and do not share your camera unless you are speaking, because to advantage the system. Thank you very much to all of you. Jordi, I believe you would like to do a small introduction. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lucia. Good afternoon from Brussels, from the European Parliament, and welcome everyone attending this webinar on the electoral process that took place in Ethiopia on the 21st of June. Let me start by thanking the UNPO for this great initiative aiming to give voice different communities that compose Ethiopia. Today, we will hear from representatives of the communities of Amara, Ejiu, Benishangul, Gambela, Ogadeni, Oromo, Kemant, Sidama, and Tigray. And I want to thank all the representatives that will take the floor on behalf of their communities for being with us today. And I also want to thank my fellow MEPs that have also joined this initiative, especially Ignaziocorrao, Fabio Massimo Castaldo, Jean-Christophe Etchen, and I also see here Catherine Langenzippen. Thank you all, and also your offices for your collaboration. As you all know, the elections took place in a context where some parts of the country are witnessing huge violence, human rights violations, attacks to the freedom of the press, and where the political opposition is being persecuted. In 1/5 of the constituencies, elections had to be postponed until September due to insecurity and logistical problems. And as we all know, in the Tigray region, elections could not be held at all due to the ongoing war in which the rebel fighters are continuing to gain ground after recapturing the capital, Mekele, from government forces, and in which there continue being horrendous acts of violence, like last week's airstrike targeting civilians in a marketplace in a village near Togoga. Unfortunately, we as EU representatives couldn't have first-hand information on the electoral process because the EU electoral observation mission was cancelled due to the impossibility to reach an agreement with the Ethiopian authorities and to grant full security to EU observers. However, today's session is a great opportunity to get this first-hand information that we are lacking, and we will get it from our invited speakers, representatives of peoples and communities that too often are not given the opportunity, the chance to express themselves. Given the socially, economically, politically difficult situation in Ethiopia, I hope that we can have an informative and constructive debate that contributes to a better understanding of the complex situation on the ground, and that could also contribute to a better future for all the communities represented here today, a future in democracy, peace, and equality for all. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much for being with us, and I hand over to Lucia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Solé. We are very grateful that you gave us this opportunity, along with Mr. MEP Corrao. Ignazio, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Lucia, and thank you to all colleagues and communities who are here with us today. It's great to see many communities, many of you together in this event. We have 9 people, and we have the chance to hear from all of them. Listening, giving them a stage to speak are very important things to understand what is going on, and we will of course try to make good use in a practical way. The situation is extremely complex and delicate, but we have to bring people together with dialogue, and it's nice to see that all of you accepted to participate. It's important to understand for us the causes of the problem, and I hope that a series of other events will follow this one. We, of course, with the colleagues, we will try to circulate the report to make sure to amplify your voices to other colleagues, MEPs, and of course, feel free to send us further documentation. And then we hope to bring more people from other parties too, and that this discussion will be taken seriously by other national parliaments. And we hope this report will help Ethiopia to always improve and do any better. So from our side, we know that Ethiopia is a key partner for the European Union in the region. It has taken a leading role in promoting economic integration, peace and stability in East Africa, whilst implementing an ambitious national reform agenda. The European Union's development cooperation with Ethiopia is one of the largest in Africa and in the world, amounting to 815 million for the period of 2014-2020. Moreover, the country is also one of the major beneficiaries of the EU Emergency Trust Fund for Africa, which I work on in the last term, over 271.5 million for 2015-2019. The ongoing food crisis is worrying, and the famine recalls that one of the 80s. The 90% of Tigray population is at risk affected by this food crisis. The famine is even getting worse if we think the humanitarian workers cannot reach the territory, the so-called blind areas, as soon as we know. And this happens in a country that had been awarded for its hospitality, has welcomed over the years more than 800,000 people who were fleeing from Eritrea afterward regime, and a country with a structured reception system. Entire neighborhoods for the reception of refugees were born in Addis Ababa, a light of hope, peace, and stability for the entire area of East Africa. We want to know more from your side and try to understand what can we do to help concretely from the European Parliament side. So we'll be hearing and try to do our best. I give the word back to you, Lucia, and thank you again.
Thank you very much, MEP Corrao. Really, that's very helpful. We have also here with us the Vice President of the European Parliament, MEP Fabio Massimo Castaldo. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you much, Lucia, distinguished guests and speakers, friends. I really would like to thank more the unrepresented nation and peoples of organization and all my colleagues, and especially MEPs Jordi Solé and Ignazio Corrao, Jordi and Nascio, for organizing this extremely interesting and important exchange, and for inviting me to deliver a few welcoming words. And I also salute the participation of other colleagues that are here with us, and as for example, young Christoph Oetjen that is going to join us, but also Catherine Langensiepen. I'm sorry for my bad pronunciation in German. As a vice president of the European Parliament with a human rights and democracy portfolio, as well as a very active member of AFET committee and standing rapporteur for the Horn of Africa, and also as a member of the Democracy and Election Group of the European Parliament, I firmly believe that is one of my responsibilities to stay together with you today, to listen to and investigate the ideas, the concerns, and the points of view of all the representatives of the civil society in order to truly comprehend the state of a country's democracy, a crucial one as Ethiopia, that Asher was saying before. It's one of the most prominent country in Africa from the demographic point of view, from an economical one, and it's a pillar and should be a pillar of the stability of the continent and of the African Union. It is very positive that the representatives of all the ethnical communities are here today together with us. And I also think that this meeting could represent an extremely important exercise in collaboration and of mutual dialogue. And I thank you all for your participation, because again, when we are speaking about democracy, we should remind that democracy is giving space to the minorities, is giving space to all the voices, and in particular to those fragile part of the societies, and especially the minorities that often are not heard or are not enough heard. As I became aware by on Ethiopian and dialoguing with all the representatives these years, holding an election in the country is an immense task with a multitude of challenges to overcome. Despite all the efforts, however, those elections place in the midst of an extremely serious peace and security challenge, and it proved too difficult to hold election in a number of areas, more than 1/5, owing to logistical and security concerns. Or, as you all know, the EU has unfortunately not been able to deploy an electoral observation mission to Ethiopia. While this is surely disappointing, let me say that the integrity of our missions is a non-negotiable cornerstone of the EU support for democracy. It is therefore even more important to have alternative exchanges with you, with the civil society's representative of the Ethiopian ethnical communities, to discuss best practices, challenges, and all the possible irregularities and violences that you can have eventually witnessed before, during, and after this electoral process. In plural societies like Ethiopia that seeks to manage ethnical diversity, equitable representation of all the communities is very crucial. If critical participants are excluded from the process, the credibility and legitimacy of the voters will inevitably be reduced or put in question. I strongly hope that this election, regardless of the outcome, will result in a force of convening an inclusive national dialogue to rebuild a shared consensus on the future of the country. Ensure inclusion and representation of all the groups is fundamental, and it requires broad-based consultation if people are to feel they are represented in both the process and the outcomes of the dialogue too. However, this process must account for realities on the ground. Let's not be naive, in particular the violent conflict situation in the Tigray region and the other interethnic conflicts elsewhere in Ethiopia that eventually are less visible. The detention and the stifling of critical voices in the political political opposition, the political prisoners, and the recent violence, assassination, and displacement. I have hope that this is a good place from which a real dialogue can start. That's why I'm eager to listen to your testimonies and reflections today. And I understand also that what the EU and the EP in particular can do to help your voice being amplified, to help you to raise issues and the attention on the situation that you are living every day. Yeah, I would also be happy to keep a dialogue within this platform and to arrange a further an update meeting, or let's say a follow-up meeting with the UNPO to understand the outcome and the impact of the report that it will be produced after today's meeting. And I'm sure that Mr. Love Bunch, the General, my dear friend Lucia Parrucci, will do as usual an excellent job. It is sincere belief that the EU must play a constructive and diplomatic role in putting pressure and in supporting the new government in such a process of national dialogue that may have the potential to decrease the polarization and to sustain the important reforms to strengthen democracy and human rights in the country that we all are hoping to see very soon. I thank you very much, and I will be really glad to continue to listen to you and to all the debate, the remarks, the concerns, and everything you would like to share together with us. Don't forget that the European Parliament, it is and it will always be also your house. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice President Castaldo. I think this is very, very important. And indeed, the video of this conference will be posted on the UNPO website along with the report, but we will be circulating along also the European Parliament. I see today with us MEP Langenzipen. I don't know if she wants to join the floor as well. She's always more than welcome. And in the meantime, we actually have a video from the member of the European Parliament, Ojten, that couldn't come with us today, but he really wanted to bring his testimonies, and so I will share the video immediately with you. We are very thankful to MEP Ojten for his remarks, and he already expressed the willing to host the next conference in September, as MEP Castaldo was already mentioned. Since I'm not hearing from MEP Langenzipen, and we have a long list of speakers, I would like to remind the people that are not speaking to close their cameras, and I would like to go in alphabetical order in calling the people that will speak from the different communities. I know that the first person will be Ambassador Sageye, the leader of the AGU Human Rights Advocacy Group, but I know that he's having some problems with his connection. Ambassador, can you?
You are muted, Lucia.
Can you hear us? Can you all hear me now? Ambassador, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Lucia.
No, I'm asking Ambassador if he can hear me, because he is struggling with the connection, and we would like to have him as first speaker because we're going to in alphabetical order. But apparently he's having problems, and I see that you're talking to him on the public chat. So, Mercedes, if you don't mind, would be great to sort out the problem with him, and in this way, we can move and we can switch maybe to the second speaker. In the meantime, you can sort out the problem, okay? I think we can go on. And the second speaker is Tewodrose Tirfe, Director of the Amara Association of America. Ted, do you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Lucy, I can hear you. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, we can hear you fine. We are going to give you the floor.
Okay.
Just give me a second. And Ambassador, I believe you cannot hear me, right? Okay, we're going to write in the public chat. Thank you very much, Ted. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Lucia. Mr. Sole, Mr. Corrao, UNPO officials, and distinguished guests, thank you for the opportunity to represent the Amara ethnic community at this timely and important event. My name is Tewodrose Tirfe, and I am the chairman of the Amara Association of America, or AAA for short. Established in 2016, AAA is a nonprofit civic organization that represents the Amara diaspora in the United States. Our work includes investigating and documenting human rights abuses against Amaras and other ethnic communities in Ethiopia, coordinating humanitarian relief to Amaras in need, and serving as a voice for the Amara people in media outlets, think tanks, and human rights organizations. We also educate American federal policymakers on issues affecting Amaras and Ethiopia and advocate for ways the United States can help advance Ethiopia's democratic transition. Ethiopia's 2021 national elections have come at a time of war, ethnic violence, and political repression across the country. Most, if not all, of my fellow Ethiopian speakers today will likely touch upon how these issues have plagued their communities, and the Amaras are no exception. These issues preceded election day, but continue today with increased intensity, presenting an existential threat to Ethiopia itself. First, I would like to give some background information on the Amara people. Recent partial estimates from outside sources suggest that more than 30 million Amaras live across Ethiopia. That would make the Amaras at least the second largest ethnic group in Ethiopia alongside the Oromo. The last Ethiopian census taken in 2007 recorded Amaras as approximately 27% of the population. However, significant controversies arose with the census that suggests Amaras were systematically undercounted across the country. The lack of a new comprehensive census since then, a census that would allow all Ethiopians to freely identify with one, multiple, or zero ethnic groups, makes the Amara percentage figures a difficult and sensitive topic. However, for clarity's sake, I will use the 2007 data as a reference point. I hope you all can see the map that Lucia would be is sharing. This map shows all of Ethiopia's zones, our second level administrative units, color-coded by their ethnic-based region per the constitution. All the yellow zones are part of the so-called Amhara region. This is part of Ethiopia where Amaras are constitutionally recognized as a native or indigenous people. In most of those zones, Amaras make up more than 90% of the population. The exceptions are Agau Awi and Oromia special zones, where there are sizable Amara minorities, but the zones are carved out for the Agau and Oromo peoples, respectively. No region in Ethiopia is ethnically homogeneous. Outside the Amara region, all the circle zones on the map are where Amaras make up more than 10% of the population. The red underlined names are for the chartered cities of Addis Ababa and Dire and the Harare region. Amaras make up sizable minorities in each and are a plurality in Addis. The two zones in Tigray, with red asterisks, recorded Amara populations of only a few percentage points in the last census. However, these areas used to be part of the non-ethnic based Gondar and Wollo province prior to the Tigray People's Liberation Front, or TPLF, forcefully taking them over in the late 1980s. When the TPLF invaded these areas during the Civil War, many Amaras were forcibly expelled or pressured into fleeing into Sudan and what is now the Amara region or other parts of Ethiopia, an attempt to ethnically cleanse the east areas of Amaras. Those Amaras that remained were subject to persecution and repression by the TPLF government for 3 decades, leading many to identify as Tigrayan or another ethnicity. AAA and the community at large feel that because of this, the 2007 census numbers for both those undercount the Amara population as part of the former government's attempt to justify their inclusion in the Tigray region. Like any ethnic group, the Amaras are not a monolithic entity. When it comes to religion, a majority of Amaras are adherents of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewodrose Church. However, a sizable minority, perhaps 20% of Amaras, are Sunni Muslims, while smaller groups have converted to Protestant Christianity in recent years. While nearly all of us speak the Semitic Amharic language, regional variations and influences from other peoples are substitute. But in general, Amaras are united by their belief in the Ethiopian state and their support of all of its diverse peoples. Many Ethiopians initially welcomed the appointment of Abiy Ahmed as Ethiopia's prime minister in April 2018. His government announced an agenda to try furthering Ethiopia's democratic transition after 27 years of authoritarian rule. This included a commitment to facilitate the country's first free and fair elections, which were initially scheduled for August 2020. But in March of last year, Ethiopia's parliament postponed election day because of the COVID-19 pandemic, while the elections were eventually rescheduled for June 2021. Developments occurred that led many Amaras, including us at AAA, to conclude that the elections would neither be fully free nor fair. As Ethiopians waited for a new election day to be scheduled, the country was hit with a series of violent crises. This, of course, includes the war in Ethiopia's Tigray region, where the resulting humanitarian atrocities against the Tigrayan people have garnered significant international concern. For my community, the biggest crisis has been a series of massacres that began in 2018 against Amharas, mainly living outside the so-called Amhara region. The perpetrators of these attacks have mainly been armed non-state actors in Oromia by the Oromo Liberation Army and Benshangul Gumuz regions by Gumuz militants. But massacres have also taken place in other parts of the country, including within the Amara region and as part of the war in Tigray, notably the massacre of over 700 Amaras in Maikadra by the TPLF and its associated militias. In some cases, complicity by local officials in the massacre of Amaras has either been alleged or acknowledged by the government itself. A combination of reporting from human rights groups such as Amnesty International, Western and Ethiopian media outlets, and AAA's own field investigations show that more than 2,000 Amaras have been killed in targeted attacks over the past year. We believe a full independent investigation will reveal a much larger number. Close to 800,000 Amaras have been internally displaced due to these massacres, and the fear of further attacks are on the minds of Amaras today. The Ethiopian federal government has yet to properly acknowledge or respond to these massacres with a comprehensive political and security strategy. Amid this chaos, elections have been a much lower priority for the Amara community. At the same time, Amaras who tries to organize politically outside of the ruling Prosperity Party system were treated as criminals by the government. The opposition National Movement of Amara, or NAMA for short, was formed in 2018 to represent the Amara people both within and beyond the Amara region. NAMA strongly opposes Ethiopia's ethnic federal system, as does AAA, but the party felt that the only way to have a voice in the country's political future was to organize Amaras nationwide. NAMA's growing popularity among Amaras clearly posed a threat to the Prosperity Party, and the government took numerous illegal steps to try weakening its electoral prospects. For example, in October 2020, the governments of the Amara region and Addis Ababa banned NAMA from holding peaceful protests against the massacres of Amaras across Ethiopia. Attempts for NAMA to hold election rallies during their campaign season were restricted multiple times by local governments, all of which are controlled by the Prosperity Party. In February 2021, an electoral rally by the Oromia Region Prosperity Party branded NAMA as enemy of the state alongside other opposition movements, clearly to intimidate Amara residents in Oromia. Though NAMA has significant support in the Oromia region, NAMA was not allowed to open offices or campaign due to violence or threat of violence against NAMA and Amaras, leaving millions of Amaras disenfranchised. In the Benshangul Gumuz region, the ongoing violence against Amaras and other non-native ethnic groups that they are led to the murder of at least one NAMA candidate in April and the suspension of his campaign activities there. In the Amara region, multiple university students were killed in May after refusing to participate in a rally for the local prosperity branch. This political oppression was not only felt on the campaign trail in the run-up to the rescheduled elections. Amaras who were suspected of supporting NAMA faced significant difficulties in registering to vote. This does not even include the hundreds of thousands of internally displaced Amaras, whom the National Election Board of Ethiopia lacked the capability to even try registering. And due to the government's inability to resolve conflicts across Ethiopia, numerous constituencies, many of which have large Amara populations, are not scheduled to vote until September. All these issues culminated in an election with lower than expected voter registration and turnout. Unfortunately, the worst of the Prosperity Party's repression tactics against NAMA were saved for the election itself. Evidence continues to be collected, but NAMA has publicized accounts of the Prosperity Party threatening their election observers, confiscating voter registration cards, and casting ballots on their behalf, and stopping the vote count at some polling locations when it was clear that NAMA candidate was leading. I would be remiss to mention that while it did not organize along ethnic lines, the Balderas for Genuine Democracy Party is supported by many Addis Abeba's Amara residents who want a city not dominated by a single ethnic group. The party's founder and leader, Iskandar Naga, is a prominent freedom of speech activist and former journalist who faced many years in prison on politically motivated charges by the former ruling government. Sadly, because Balderas' popularity in Addis posed a threat to the ruling Prosperity Party, the government took steps to neutralize Iskandar and Balderas. In July 2020, during the protests and deadly violence stemming from the murder of singer Hachalu Hundessa, federal police arrested Iskandar yet again. Once again, Iskandar was accused of a ludicrous terrorist plot by the government, and his detention and trial have been marred by numerous due process violations. Despite these incredible obstacles and challenges for the Amara community, there are signs that the elections will yield some progress. As of today, NAMA appears to have won at least 6 parliamentary seats and 11 regional assembly seats in the Amara region, and more could come in the following weeks. While the Prosperity Party will likely win a large majority of elections nationwide, these small steps toward multi-party democracy cannot be ignored. I want to close by saying that there are many misperceptions about the Amara people that have been shaped by other Ethiopians and outside scholars and journalists. One of the main accusations is that Amaras collectively support Prime Minister Abiy and are the only ethnic group that feels the current government represents their interests. On behalf of AAA and millions of Amaras in Ethiopia and in the diaspora, I want to ensure that everyone here knows this is false. I am sure that all other speakers here can discuss political repression and a sense of estrangement from the Prosperity Party, and Amaras are no exception to that. It is my hope that once we get past the false narratives and the demonization and scapegoating of entire ethnic groups, we can start to focus on real solutions for ensuring equal rights and justice for all Ethiopians. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to answering any questions you have for me.
Thank you very much, Meazza, for your very valuable testimony. We are running out of time, so apologies to all the attendees. Since we are going, toward the end of the day, I would like to go to the chat, because we're having a very good conversation thanks to a question that Justin just raised, that I will read. And I would like to ask all the speakers to spend 1 minute saying what they are typing so that it is on the record. The question that Justin was asking, apologies, but it's a long chat. Justin was saying, every ethnic group has painted a picture of ethnic political violence and repression, both between communities and at the ends of the current government. If everyone agrees that their community has been victimized, how can Ethiopians use that as a starting point for a productive national dialogue and a political reform? I will start giving the floors quickly in alphabetical order as before. So, Ambasu, the floor is yours. Can you hear us? Atmasu?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. How would you respond to this question?
My response is if the government and its supporters, especially Amara elites and politicians, are willing to practice the existing constitution, these all problems would not have been happened. They are not willing to use constitution. Our request is the government to respect our constitutional rights. The whole problem is circulating around the constitution, using and practicing constitution. But now it is too late. Now it is a different situation. We need to reorganize transitional government led by neutral organizations, maybe foreigners and civil society from the country, and maybe from political parties. But the government should not be the leader of the transitional organization. Because of that, we can reconduct the free and fair election in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we are gonna pass by the second to the second speaker. Ted, are you here?
Yes, I am, Lucia. Can you hear me well?
Perfectly. Go.
Okay, thank you. Just very quickly to address some of the statements that were made and the question that was posed. It's really important to understand that Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is an Oromo who hails from the Oromo Prosperity Party. And also important to understand that the Amaras are not in power. Amaras have not been in power in Ethiopia since Mengistu Haile Mariam, representing the Derg regime, came into power. So a very, very long time. That said, I think that there is an opportunity for a true inclusive dialogue, especially at this moment when all Ethiopians truly need it and want it. And so, and this can happen if we can have a platform where nonviolent political actors, civil society organizations, religious institutions, majority of Ethiopians are very, very religious, and also community leaders, even at the local level, can have an opportunity to participate in a conversation, to talk about what kind of Ethiopia that we want. I believe that majority of Ethiopians want peace, want away from violence, and where they can have a stable country, economically develop their country, and have real, true, genuine democracy. This is not something that is undoable, and also a way where people's all ethnic groups, their cultural rights can be protected. And but I think one of the things that's really important to note is that Ethiopia is one of the oldest countries in the world. And so with that in mind, we do not have to use the ethnic-based constitutional framework of the past 27 years as the only reference point. There are many reference points that we can use in Ethiopia's long history. There are also other reference points that we can utilize in thriving democracies around the world. Many of the countries in the European Union are exemplary of that. The United States, Canada, many others. And I think we can rejoice and also enjoy and respect and appreciate the diversity of Ethiopia, ethnic diversity, religious diversity. There are many diversities within the country, but we do not have to use ethnicity as the sole and only component of political representation or organization. And if we do not openly talk about this and look at what the underlying issues are and continue to use ethnicity as the sole and only component in political organization and have a system that continues to foster distrust between ethnicities, And where you have a system where one ethnic group tries to get to the top and oppress all others, we're going to continue to have this this problem of innocent civilians, especially minority groups in these ethnic-based regions, to be targeted by armed groups and also local militias. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ted. Let's try to make sure less than 1 minute. Ibrahim, do you want to bring your contribution?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
1 minute, please. We're already very late. No, Ibrahim, really 1 minute because everybody has to speak. Thank you.
That 1 minute is not enough to my laughing because a lot of things have been said there. I respect you, Lucia. I will tell you, yes, if the foreign body is going to be in that steering meeting table, we will accept that. Because the problem of Ethiopia, nobody to trust nobody. The speaker before me, he kept talking that he and his tribe have been exposed to ethnic cleansing. And this is the problem of Ethiopia, that people in the big stage, they kept lying. Just the way Abiy is lying to you, to the world, and lying to the world. He has election, he got this, and then he got Nobel Prize. We in Benishangul, what we experience in this country, as I told you, is slavery and genocide and ethnic cleansing. In the emperor time, in the communist time, in the federation time, and in this time. This is what experience. When I say slavery, still we have people in a place called Matahara where the sugar cane now who have been took and kidnapped, free people, and they slave them, they put them there. Still now, when I'm talking to you. When I'm talking to you now, the great bloody dam called Renaissance Dam, which everybody in Amara and everybody in so-called Ethiopia are happy with it, that we're going to bring us prosperity. This dam is a bloody dam killing our people every day. The day just they put the stone for building this, 200,000 of our people are being killed, displaced in mass grave, and nobody asked for it. When I said to you there is 6 million of Benishangul people still alive, 6 million of them are being killed, eradicated, in mass killing. Therefore, for us, the exist of this, if this country, it means the continuance of our atrocity, the continuance of ethnic cleansing, is the continuance of a slavery for us. This is a racist government country built on racist, nothing common between them. When they tell you there is a 300,000 years of Ethiopia, all Ethiopian, this is a stolen history. They are lying in their history too. Even the name Ethiopia is not belong to them. The name Ethiopia itself is not belong to them. All of you are educated people. Go and dig out where they got this name. They got the name in 1945 when Haile Selassie was a refugee in Sudan. He stolen this name from there. And the same way they stolen us as a people, as the land. This is what happened. Wake up the world. What is going in Ethiopia is a shame for the world. It's a shame for the world, and I'm telling you. And I want European Union to have somebody involved, not to go to Addis Ababa. No, go to Asosa, go to Benishangul, go to the Kimat people, go to the Agau. See what happened, how they eradicated us, how they deprive us to we don't ask for water, we don't ask for internet, we ask for to be exist in our land. We are asking only for existence. On the land God created to us, we create there. We don't want even election. All these things is just like ice cream. We don't want those. We want to live as human beings in our land. We deprived that for 120 years. My people, my tribe is a royal tribe who ruled Sudan for 1,000 years, 1,100 years, with the kingdom called Black Kingdom and Funj Kingdom. And we live for 123 years in slavery in Ethiopia. Come on, world, work up. The worst is on the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Let's try to keep a calm tone for everybody, but I understand it's a very, very sensitive issue, so I totally feel you. I know, Mr. Hassan, are you here quickly? Mr. Hassan? If Mr. Hassan is not here immediately, Sena, do you want to jump in? You're muted, Sena.
Okay, thank you so much, Lucy. You know, the gentleman, Mr. Ibrahim, spoke, and I think we all spoke. And the saddest thing that makes me really angry is the fact that there's this illusion to paint Abiy as an Oromo. The very person he targeted from the beginning, long before Tigray, was Oromo. He declared state of emergency in Oromia. He bombed Oromia, and he'd been bombing Oromia, Western Oromia, until this day. In the world, have not paid attention before Hachalu's killing. Hachalu, the most popular Oromo singer, was killed last year, exactly yesterday, 2 days ago, on the 29th of June. And nearly 200 people were murdered within 24 hours. In a state of emergency were declared across the country. And the security force killed. When they kill, is the security force killed along with Amara Regional. Today we are being terrorized by Amara Regional Force. For 120 years, just like Benshangul Gumuz, just like others, we have been terrorized by Amara nationalist extremists along who, you know, Abiy can be Oromo by blood, but his vision has been clearly said. It's a unitary, it's the bringing back of the old Amara supremacy to Ethiopia. And that is what the Oromos are against, even though we are majority in number. 50% of the Ethiopian population are Oromo, yet are treated less than minority. 27 years we were oppressed. I'm a refugee survivor of the 27 previous regime. It is all in the name of Amhara supremacy in that country. So it's really, to me, it's mind-boggling that, you know, we'll see Abiy as in anything Oromo. My colleague have said, in federalism, you know, it's not, the constitution does not say ethnic federalism, it's a national federalism. It's the existence, recognition that me as Oromo belong in Ethiopia, me as Benshangul, me as Tigray, me as Amhara can belong in Ethiopia. In Oromia, there are nearly 9 million non-Oromos. Among that, 70% of them are Amhara. They are the elites, they are the holder, the business owner, the richest in Oromia. Nobody kills them, nobody does anything to them. But yet Oromos are accused federalism is bad for them. So if federalism is bad, and if Amharas don't feel safe in Oromia, that, you know what I'm saying, that Tigrayans were hanged when CPLF left power 4 years ago. The Tigrayans was hanged in Amhara. They weren't hanged in Oromia, but Oromos are the one accused. But to answer the question that in here is that really that dialogue is the only way option if that country to exist. And people like Benshangul, who are a very small number, Kemant and Agwa, other people who are minority, they need a protection. And the only way to protect them is that in their own region. And we as Oromo feels like we feel like protecting our own region. If a region, certain if you don't feel or good or feel like protected, that they have a right to move. But I feel like dialogue should take place, and dialogue really needs to take place by truly independent, not by the country like Italy that gives millions of dollars to give coordination to keep the system or to bring back the old system or unitary system, which would clearly say, which as if you heard it from today, that there are 9 speakers and everybody, they want federalism. And from that federalism, we want everybody to feel like they belong in Ethiopia, they are part of Ethiopia. That what Abiy have in a box, what Abiy is trying to sell, along with an Amhara nationalist extremists who are terrorizing Oromos today. They're not in Amhara terrorizing Oromo. Oromos are not in Amhara region, but they are in Oromia terrorizing, and Abiy is using them. And so I think like independent, truly an organization that really doesn't care whether it's federalism or other system that kind of lead this dialogue, because right now Ethiopians don't trust each other. I'll leave them there.
Sana, thank you so much. You have been super fast and quick. Great. I know that Jordi Soleil had to leave us. Thank you very much for joining us. Mr. Corrao, you are here with us. Do you want to do the closing remarks? Just very quickly before to go, I wanted to tell you all that the idea originally was to create the report and have a follow-up conference in September. But I think it's very important, if you all agree, and you can write it on the chat, that we can have a closed-door dialogues with all these communities, if it's okay for you. Ignazio, the floor is yours.
Yes, well, first of all, thank you, Lucia, and thanks to anyone that took the floor for the many things that you said and you wrote also in the chat, because I was trying to follow on both sides, and sometimes it's not easy. I understand that there are many things still to discuss, many things to clarify. I think that might be a good point to have a follow-up, as Lucia was saying, a second event. In the meanwhile, we can try to put things together, so with the help of UNPO, and try to write down this report, so that we can inform the other colleagues from the parliament. We will try to do it as soon as possible, because we understand that there is urgencies. You live it every day, and of course we have to. Unfortunately, we're not so fast, because we are a very bureaucratic body. So it's you know how parliaments and institution works. They're not as fast as citizens and people needs, but we will try to do our best on the basis of the information and the report that we can have. So I thank you again, also in the name of Jordi, who left, which is a fellow colleague of the group and the parliament, and let's just keep in touch with the UNPO, and try to do what is possible to foster, dialogue and solution.
Thank you very much for this great opportunity. Meazza, from the Tigray region, you are writing, and we are going to record your responses. So, as I said, in addition to the conference that we're going to have in September, most likely, of course, with Mr. Corrao and all the other people what you had today, and most likely with other people also, we're going to also have a UNPO private event only with the speakers to give them the opportunity to have a talking on closed doors. So we're going to have the report, the public event, and the closed door event in September. We will receive your emails in the coming days to discuss a bit more on how to organize this. You can write still in the public chat for a few minutes, but we have to close the recording of the conference because we are already late. Thank you so much for joining us today and for really providing these very valuable testimonies. We're going to compile them together and send it out to the relevant stakeholders as soon as possible. Thank you very much all.